if you posted a sign, call this number and I will come over to your house and I'll do whatever you want for $1. Rapidly, I think you'll be called. I mean, aside from the fact that it's a weird request or a weird offer. If people thought, yeah, trusted that, yeah, this guy will come over to my house and he'll do whatever it is that I'm gonna ask him to do, like he'll clean my toilets, fix my gutters, paint my eaves, and they thought, yeah, this guy can actually do that, then you would be overwhelmed with interest. Or there's a small world of people who will see that message, but when they see it and they recognize it, they quickly jump to how valuable it would be to them, and they see the value, and the $1 means nothing to them, and they're very willing to trade it in exchange for what you're willing to give. So you can get stuck at a level that doesn't serve you because at some point you were desperate enough to make that offer. Why did I get into the business of doing bathrooms? Well, at one point I thought, well, I left my job and I needed a way to make money that was fairly accessible and quick. I didn't want to jump through a lot of hoops to do it, and so I made an offer in my small community that I would, renovate a bathroom space, and I posted a few pictures, and very quickly I had interest to do those jobs. And unlike a lot of other business ventures that I have embarked on in the past, I thought, wow, this is pretty easy to get customers. I can very easily get customers doing this. If you think about it in your own life, you've done this in some way. You at some point hit upon some time where you needed money and you decided, what can I do? What can I do to get it quickly? What's easy? What's easy, and what am I willing to tolerate, essentially? And so you made the post, or you made the application, or you put the ad out. You got people aware. They recognized the value that you could give them, and then they saw your deal and they thought, great, this is an awesome exchange. Whatever this guy's worth, or whatever this guy's willing to do, he doesn't know it, but I'm getting the better deal. He's ripping himself off in a sense, because I'm going to pay him to do what he's giving me because I think I'm going to get out better than he will. So in a sense, you've made this trade at some point, a job you work at, or a business that you have. And it was what was easiest for you at the moment, what was most accessible. And now you may or may not be stuck in that a little bit. It may have even been a moment of weakness where you felt desperation and you made an offer that was not in your favor, but it's now you're stuck in the flow. You're stuck in the rhythm of doing it, of selling it, because now that it has some momentum and inertia, it's even easier than it was at the start. Like in my case, me doing another bathroom project for someone is even easier than when I first began. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best offer I could have made, or the best thing that I should be doing, or that it's a strength of mine. The only thing that it helps me to know is that it was easy to sell, that people wanted it enough that they were willing to part money for it, and that I was recognized by enough people that I was able to sell enough of these projects to stay in the game. But at some point, you have to analyze your offer to the world. You have to analyze what the universe of people is that recognize you, that know who you are and recognize what you do. And you have to think about, is the offer I'm making good anymore? Is it actually an offer that's worth selling? Like, am I getting a good deal out of it? And I think you have to constantly reinvent this, because if there is indeed, if you are having an ease of making money in some way, let's say the job you have or the business you own, if money is flowing more or less, like you're paying your bills and so on, right away you have to question, am I selling too good of a deal? Am I even working from my strengths at this point? Or was it easy to sell, and is it a weakness of mine, but it's tolerable and it pays, and I don't know what else I would do. I don't know how else I would help people in as easy a way as this. So I don't know. I think there's an opportunity there to look a little deeper and to question if you're making a good offer to people for you, not just what's successfully selling. In my own situation, I routinely ignore my strengths and ignore where I suspect I would be the most valuable in people's lives. I ignore what I'm best at, what I like doing the most, and I prioritize things that I'm mediocre at, because people are willing to buy it. And it's funny because I wouldn't do, there's so many things that I wouldn't do for money that I wouldn't think is worth doing. Like, I wouldn't go outside and cut lawns for $5 an hour. I wouldn't get a job at McDonald's. I wouldn't wash cars even for $50 an hour. I wouldn't do it. And there's a long list of those things. I'm sure you have your own list. And yet, at some point, when you get to a certain resistance level of a task or a thing to sell or a service or a product, and you think, I don't really like doing this. I'm not really good at it. It's not the best compensation. It's not very well leveraged. But I don't mind it. It's okay. Then I think that's a dangerous place to be for well-being and satisfaction. And I know that there's a line between acceptance and gratitude of what you currently have and expansion and growth, building towards something better. But I just don't think you don't want to spend too much time in your weaknesses, selling from your area of tolerance, rather than being in a position of working from your greatest strengths, being who you are, and legitimately providing people with a lot of value. Because what you do just naturally flows out of you. Like, you do it anyways. But in many cases, a lot of those things, those gifts, talents, and skills that you're best at may not be the easiest thing that you could sell. And so you sideline them for the crappier but more marketable offer. And I get myself into trouble with this when I think of what could I say to someone, or how could I help someone? And I start to do some research, and I look at, well, what are popular topics? What are some trends that that people show interest in selling, or buying? Like, for example, in my journey to help people in some way, and I'm not even sure what that way is yet, but to help people in a one-on-one or a group sense with transitions and challenges and pivot points and defining their values, understanding who they are, what they want. Along the way towards that, I've encountered accountability coaching, and my understanding is that a lot of people are readily willing to pay for accountability coaching. And when I see those market signals, as I'll call them, I might be inclined to think that I will be more successful at selling that than if I try to invent sort of my own side category. And so even if I don't consciously think I'm going to shape my business to conform to that, I certainly subconsciously integrate that information. And I think if people want accountability coaching, then maybe I should start using those words more. I should start talking about what I do in those terms more, and thinking, this is what people want, and so I'm going to sort of twist my way towards that. I think that, I mean, to a degree, yeah, you have to serve people with what they want to be served with. But if you look too shallowly in the ocean, like if you look on the shore and you see, you see just sand, you might be tempted to think that the whole ocean is just sand under the water. But you didn't look very deeply. You didn't spend enough time in the ocean to know. And you've based decisions on a shallow, quick reading. And then you might say, well, I don't like sand. And for the coaching, in my case, I might say, I don't like accountability. I don't like the idea of accountability coaching. I always think there's an issue with the situation in general if the person believes they have an accountability problem or a laziness problem. I'm always very skeptical of that, and I can get into that at some other time, but the point is, you have to look at your offer to the world, what you are promoting, and wonder if it suits you. And you have to think about who you want to be, what you want to sell, what your best strengths and offerings are. And in a sense, you've got to ignore a little bit what the offer is in the world that appears to be the best thing that you could do or sell. And you've got to doubt and question the easy stuff and don't automatically assume that you need to conform to what the market wants, because you don't know what the market wants. I think even if you read a huge market report, you don't know. You don't know. You can't really research enough what people really truly want, and you might have to create a category or make an offering that people aren't asking for, but if they saw it, they would know that that's what they want, that that's something that they truly would want and pay for, and they just haven't been able to call out for that thing. They haven't been able to name it. And I think between those two things, there's a connection of settling for what's easy and what's obvious, and what's deeper, what's more true, but what's more difficult to create belief in yourself that it's what people want, and so you're willing to invest in making it or doing it for others. So that's all I have to say on the topic for the time being.